What's up, everybody?
Yo,
Chewie here with Potty. How's it going?
doing fantastic this evening. Chewie, how are you?
I'm doing good. Watching some minors, getting ready. Well, let me clarify that. Watching some goals minors playoffs, and doing this podcast with you.
Oh, fantastic. You look draped up in mink outfits.
Yeah,
What are you wearing this evening? Is that the same as last time?
yeah. We got the Chewie robe. I had to get back out of bed for this one, so just slapped on the Chewie robe, or else you'd see some Chewie nipples if I didn't have it on.
And there we go. This is episode number 7, lucky number 7, game 7, Warlocks live right now. It's in the third period. 12 minutes to go. Warlocks are up 1-0, and I got full faith and confidence we're pulling this one home. This is a fantastic episode we've got in store for you today. Let me tell you when we start, we've got 82 subscribers. Our goal is honest and it's humble. 85 subscribers. We need 3 more to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, you're watching this, come on, man, just please click that button. Now, we're going to move over to the standings. We got plays of the week and then 2 special segments, feature and Cushing. We've got award predictions and we'll wrap up with the cherry on the cake, to be announced later. So let's move into the standings. We've got the pro standings. I'm going to hand this off to Chewie right now.
Yeah, we got the pro standings before last episode. The playoffs hadn't started yet. We did our predictions, and now we're at the finals starting tomorrow, or it would be today when this comes out on Tuesday. We got Jacksonville hosting the Alaska Arctic Wolves in the finals. Alaska this series, this whole playoffs, they've been the comeback kings. So let's see if they can take it and bring the cup home to Alaska. What are your thoughts on the playoffs so far, Potty?
I've written this down, so I'm going to recite it, but this is like a reflection upon my performance as a player and also my perspective on the future that it holds. So what I've learned from the series as a player is that in order to compete for the puck offensively and defensively, I must increase my speed and puck handling. At times, it was 4-on-5, whereas a quicker center would have given the team a 5-on-5 even advantage. Personally, I also want to see Potty shoot the puck more, and I believe I should increase my shot pass bias by 1, but I want to run that by my coach and my GM to get their perspective on it before I ever do anything like that. And finally, I'm going to invest my +2 Twitch points towards attributes that increase the overall speed and resiliency of my player. That's what I've learned, and that's my perspective.
Well, I can't deny you changing your pass shot bias now, or else it'll look bad now that you've told the world. I'm joking. No, that's awesome. Yeah, it's good to kind of look at your player and see what you need to work on. I mean, it's your first season in the pros. You can't put that weight on yourself. There's only so much progressions you've already had, right? So
yeah,
we'll take it over to the minors standings though, which are currently going on. So we'll give it to Potty here to give us the updates.
Yeah, though this is live. I'm talking third period. Saskatoon just took a shot on Duncan. 9 minutes, 45 seconds at the time of that. My heart stopped. This is as close as it gets. It's 3-3 in the series. Warlocks are up 1. Oh, fuck.
Oh, well, there you go.
I cannot believe that. Now it's all tied. This is the series that I've ever seen, way crazier than last year. And we've got a monster of a hit. 1-1 third period, 9 minutes to go. Warlocks, Saskatoon.
Yeah, and just for anyone who hasn't watched, Warsaw was up 3-0. Saskatoon came back, tied it 3-3 in the series, and they just came back again to tie it 1-1 in the third. So it's an interesting playoff so far. Man, we'll see your reaction probably in the next few minutes on this episode.
Well, guess we will.
And now for plays of the week. Ooh, number 1, we've got Cuevas. See him clear that puck all the way down the ice. And he's just taking his time to get back up there. It's double overtime. And ooh, like nothing, sinks that puck right into the back of the net. Once again, here we go. Big boy Cuevas. Scoops it up, sinks it in. That's how it's done. And number 2, we've got Escola. Passes it to Pendlebury. Pendlebury up to Escola. Watch out, windmill deke to the top left-hand shelf. What a beautiful goal. Again, Pendlebury gets it to Escola, flips it around, and whirls it in. What a great goal. Number 3, my man Leathers. He's at the face-off at the other end of the rink. Gustafsson passes it to Leathers as he crosses the halfway point, and boom! Did you see that? Well, don't wait. We're going to show it again. It's a bottle rocket of a shot, and he knocks off that water bottle for that extra salty surprise. Number 4, my man Magnus. I don't know who's got it, but they pass it, and it gets intercepted. Magnus gets it back. Oh, it was Magnus. It was Magnus all along. What a miraculous play. Looks like he tries to give it to his teammate, fails, pushes him back, and then sinks it in for the OT winner. And number 5, Nordstrom. Face off. We got Stryker getting that puck, pushes him back. Jones to, if you couldn't even see the name that quickly, but we saw it was Nordstrom with a killer slapper, one-timer, right into the goal for the OT win. And number 6, Tikkanen. We've got Vipers and underwater Undertakers. And Ducks got the puck, but it's stolen by Cornwall, who then passes it to Hammer. And Tikkanen from the long range, slapper. Let's see that one more time. I know it's a long play, but sometimes you got to appreciate greatness when you see it. So we got Cornwall, who makes the nice offensive defensive play to Hammer, and then boom, long range Tikkanen. And finally, number 7, we got Young. It's a face-off, third period, 7.5 seconds on the clock. A shot could go in, allude to Lee. Lee tries again, but Young shuts him down. Sometimes these plays defy the laws of physics, but we can see how Young mystically prevents the puck from going in.
And now we're back from our plays of the week, moving on to the award predictions. I'd like to pull onto the screen Kevin Cushing.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Kevin, it's a pleasure to have you here as our Rinkside Analyst. How do you feel this evening?
I'm glad to get the job.
Fantastic. We've got pretty great award predictions in place. So I wanted to pull that up onto the main screen right now, and I'm going to talk through, what these are. So we've got the most valuable player, easily the MVP. We've got the goals ambassador, best representative of players, the Lidstrom Trophy, best defenseman.
So we got the Waugh Trophy for best goalie, the Solane Trophy for the best rookie forward, the Bork Trophy for the best rookie defenseman, the Tortorella, not Tortellini, but the Tortorella for the best coach, the Bergeron for the best defensive forward, and the next one you were going to get to the Baumgartner for the best defense, the best minors defense, and the McIntyre for the best minors goalie. Warsaw 2-1 with 3 minutes left in the game.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. I didn't see that, but that makes me happy. So we've got 2 sets of votes right here. We've got myself and we've got Cushing. And let me tell you, Cushing is a genius. And this is like the excellent brain being applied mathematically with quantitative evidence towards picks and predictions. So represent this as like the league is numbers. I represent the rookie, and Chewie, who would usually vote, has abstained because he's on the award committee. I think that's totally makes sense. So we're going to start off with the most valuable player, and we're going to ask, who was your pick? And my pick was David Leathers. I think that he's done a fantastic amount for the league, specifically in Dublin, and I believe that he is the most valuable player. What do you think, Cushing?
I actually went with the same pick. You say you go by numbers, and you kind of do, but David Leathers was the only player all year who absolutely embarrassed Cushing. And like that doesn't, go away. But if you want a meaningful number, there was no player who had more impact on face-offs than David Leathers, who won 66% of his 424 face-offs. So it wasn't just a small sample size. Add to that, leading the league in points, despite not having as many power play goals as a lot of the other top leaders. He was just all across the board, just an all-around great player. This was not a very difficult decision, sadly.
Oh, fantastic. And I know Leathers would love to hear this, but the Warsaw Warlocks just won the minor league championship. And, Leathers was like, like the best professor you've ever had or the best teacher. To me, that was either like Miss Hilton in first grade or one of the professors I had at Emory. And Leathers was like that person to me when it came to learning strategies and lines. So shout out to Leathers on this fantastic win, and shout out to the Warlocks organization, and dedicated to Tyler Grims, who brought all of this forward. So shout out to all those people.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll weigh in. David Leathers, it's a safe pick for sure. Like Cushing mentioned, the face-offs are important. You could argue that line Bear and Rose, they pulled their weight, but it's tough to say if you put another center on that line if they would be as productive this season. A few other people that are definitely big mentions. Tom Krieg on Alaska, he almost took home the OV award this year, and production-wise from the rest of his team, the points weren't there as much. So a lot of the points came from Tom Krieg. So that's another good one to look at this season.
Yeah, and being the MVP is one thing, but like, what does it mean to be the goals ambassador, the best representative of players in the league as a whole? So for me, I chose Chewie Canadian, Amelia Rose. I think has exemplified what it means to be inclusive, to be able to take people of all backgrounds and to enable and empower them to be successful in the league is the greatest sacrifice and the greatest achievement you can do. So I think that Amelia Rose deserves the Goal Ambassador Award.
That's very nice of you, Potty. Thank you for that.
Completely different direction. I think it was poor taste to even nominate her. I went with the same pick. Obviously, taking over the stats team.
Oh, my bad.
That was not an easy task. The sheets alone are such a pain to maintain, and with all the roster moves that had to be made and things like that. Plus, just doing this. Oh,
well, I appreciate that. This league, it takes a lot of people to run, takes a lot of people to grow. There's I know on my list that there's a number of people that deserve to be up there, and I really hope we can shout a lot of them out this offseason.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, we'll move into the Lidstrom Trophy, the best defenseman. Chewie, I think it might be safe for you to announce the award, and then I'll say the recognition.
Sounds good.
Does that sound good?
Sounds
okay. Good. So I've got Bernard Gustafsson out of Dublin. I've really enjoyed playing with Gustafsson. To me, I just know the player by their last name spelled because I clip every single goal and I know which ones are the ones that I remember. And these are the ones that I remember. So that's my pick.
This one was actually pretty tough because if you look at stats, Gustafsson was actually almost identical to my pick, which was Doug Britton. However, because defensive stats are so lacking, I did something that I know Doug himself would not approve of, and I looked at some raw defensive attributes. I think stick check is such a valuable attribute, and other things like shot block. They matter, but they just don't show up in the stats. And so when I looked at who I thought was the most complete defenseman, both stats and attributes, I went with Doug Britton.
Awesome. Yeah, both good picks. Potty looks like a homer with his first 3 picks. I wonder what his fourth is going to be. But moving on, we got the Waugh Trophy for the best goalie. And Potty, let's start off with your pick.
All right, can I just ask a question? I feel like everybody might. What's a homer?
A homer, so someone that that sticks. Like, I mean, you're putting up all Dublin players, and you're a Dublin player, so you're kind of a homer. You cheer for the home team. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to be a homer, but we'll see who your goalie pick is. So let's announce that.
Elias Rose. Did I pronounce it right, Chewie?
So yeah, my son's name is pronounced Eliash. So
Elias.
Yeah.
Elias Rose. I could not be prouder of a goalie to work with. I've seen just like a battering, kind of like the Battle of Tyre, where there was like this island and Rome kind of invaded it. And in order to get to it, they created a land bridge out of shit. And then they attacked it with catapults and trebuchets. And ultimately it fell, but like Rose doesn't fall. So I think that like one of the greatest goalies to play with.
And
for you, Cushing?
Yeah.
This one was, I think this was my toughest. I in addition to the one you mentioned, I want to throw out the names Josh Young, James Stone, and Mike Twinscrew. I thought all 3 were absolutely, like, I won't flinch if any of them win it. I ended up going James Stone. I thought there was a great balance between the amount of shelling he took, which was still at least above average, while still maintaining one of the best save ranks. In a lot of cases, you'll see someone was one or the other, like Elias Rose. Great save percentage, but when the shots are spread out due to the great defense around you, it's a little bit easier to not get lit up on those rebound goals and things like that. So, very arbitrary call because there's not a lot of stats you have to work with.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And James Stone, we know last season he did win the Waugh Trophy and the MVP actually. And this season, Josh Young ended up tying his record for shutouts. So yeah, like you said, I mean, Josh Young would probably be up at the top of my ballot. He did have the best stats all around, but it's a toss up really for the top goalies in the league. But
I mean, it was tempting to go JT Waters just because he had the most assists,
Yeah, that is true. I believe he did break the record this season for assists. But next up, we got the Solani Trophy for the best rookie forward. Potty, go ahead with your pick.
Solani, I like to serve my salami on some rice cakes, coming in and destroying for the first 75% of the season. A second line, sometimes first line, but mostly second line, forward, performed exceptionally well for 75% of the season. And I think that for anybody to excel for that amount of time, is exhibitant of a best rookie forward, and that's my pick.
Yeah, again, another tough one because with forwards, one of the nice things about being a defenseman is you can just play defense and that's okay. Whereas for forwards, you really have to, I feel, have some impact on both sides. In the end, I ended up going with Don Fletcher. But I'll be honest, there were a lot of names that really came out to me. For what it's worth, Potty, I had you top 5. I mean, and those were by my own extremely arbitrary weights.
Yeah, this season's rookie this season's rookie award is going to be tough. I mean, you have 2 Jacks players at the top. Some people may say because they were so good offensively, maybe they reaped the rewards from their veterans, but you can't always look at it like that. So there's so many rookies up there in points. Probably one of the best rookie classes we've had, and we're gonna speed it up a little bit because we are going a little long. So next up, we got the Bork Trophy, best rookie defenseman or goalie. So a goalie or a defense can win this one.
Simple choice here. We got Kevin Cushing out of Melbourne. I thought was a straight killer defenseman, and that's my pick.
Yeah, I picked myself, and explaining why would just be stroking my own ego. So I'm going to move on.
Okay, well we'll wait for your stroking ego later on. Next up, we got.
Go ahead. I skipped the segment.
No problem. Next up, we got the Tortorella Trophy for the best coach of the season, and for Potty, we got.
David Leathers for sure. Simple choice. Excellent example. One I'd stand behind in the field of battle.
And Kevin Cushing, who was your choice?
I went with Jacksonville. If you look at the season they had, and the fact that not only are they not over the hard cap for next year, they're not even at the soft cap. I mean, with what they've done with the cap available to them is nothing short of outstanding.
Yeah. This one's always a tough one because you kind of want to look at the best team that produced, but it's always good to look at the teams that they look different from last season. So I know this year we got Redwater, who was never really an offensive threat, but they made a couple trades in the season, and then the last 2 weeks they went on an 8-game win streak. They pushed to make the playoffs, and that's a big change. So I know Redwater, Albuquerque made a push, Florence as well, and Glasgow, both of those teams as well fighting for playoffs. So as much as I love to look at the top teams, I also like to look at the teams that made a big change from the previous season. And speaking of big changes, we got the Orr Trophy for the best offensive defenseman. Who do you got?
I got easy peasy reasy. Fulton Reed, I think, just made a fantastic splash. Big numbers being put up. In my mind, I see them compared to other numbers, and I'm like, wow, these are huge, but I don't remember what those numbers are. But I think did a fantastic job this year.
I went slightly different. Even though Fulton Reed was the points leader, which you think would be, all it takes, I actually went with Michael Kennedy just because there were 2 more goals as opposed to just raking in assists, which, let's face it, in Dublin, there's a lot of assists up for grabs. Bear in mind, by that logic, you'd say, well, why not Mikey Adams, who had 8 goals, which blew away other defensemen. He played, I can't remember exactly how many, but I want to say it was about 5 games at forward. And he did get quite a few goals in those games. And I didn't feel comfortable picking him for that reason.
Yeah. And an interesting point, actually, on your defense for points. Last season, Doug Britton led and broke the record for defense points with, I believe, 28. And Fulton Reed ended up taking the award last season. So I know Doug, called snubbed on that one. But it's not always points to get the best offensive defenseman or even best forward, because like you mentioned, there's a lot more that goes into this game than points. I mean, Jacksonville can argue you can outscore any other team, which it looks like they did this season, but not every team can do that. So we talk about offense, now we talk about defense. So let's go on to the Bergeron Trophy, the best defensive forward this season.
Best defensive forward this season, and let's make sure. Okay, and I put myself potty, and let me give you some stats behind this. So first of all, what I read is that a highly exceptional NHL player in face-off situation will have a 57% success rate. In my first season, I had a 59% success rate in face-offs, and I grew that from the ground up. I also had 28 hits, which was I had 20 hits, which was highest among all centers on Dublin, and I had I was tied for the first in assists as a rookie. So those are my accolades, and I stand behind them.
Yeah, I went with Brett Solberg. Again, for anything defensive, I looked at attributes as well as stats, just due to EA not caring about defense. 80 defensive awareness, 89 stick check. And then on top of that, being a center, winning over 50% of your face-offs makes it a little bit harder to get lit up on those quick 2-second goals. So yeah, I went
awesome.
with Brett Solberg. And let's face it, Glasgow, now Rome, not a great team to be on last year. I'm glad to see them turning it around. So I tried to spread out the love across the teams a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, Brett Solberg, I know he's always up there in he's a big defensive forward. You'll see him up there on this ballot every season. And next up, we got some minors awards. We got the Jaffrey Trophy for the best minors forward. Potty, if you can announce your pick there.
I've got Taylor John Reeves, our featured guest of this episode, or maybe the next one, depending on how things pan out. But put up the most points in the minors record accolade. I think it broke previous seasons. I don't know if it's the highest.
I went with Vanya Kovalchuk. Again, there's a lot we don't see with minor stats, so I did go more attributes because I didn't want to just do points. But just a great, well-rounded player.
Awesome.
And I think the most pro-ready out there.
Great. The Baumgartner for the best minors defenseman.
I've got one awarded posthumously to Tyler Grimms before he left the league. I think that Tyler Grimms was the absolute best defenseman in the entire minor league, was the best player that we could have played with. So that's who my vote's for.
And Cushing, who do you got for this one?
I went with Jake Prudhomme.
Yeah.
Again, these are so difficult to judge. So it's kind of whatever you prioritize.
Yeah. Jake is definitely one of the premier defensive defensemen of the minors right now, and I wouldn't be surprised to see his name go in the top 5 or 10 in the draft upcoming. And finally, we got the McIntyre Trophy for the best minors goalie.
And for the best minors goalie, the champion reigning minors team of the year, the Warsaw Warlocks, we got Joey Duncan. Nobody was dunking on him. He was blocking shots. And so that was my pick.
All right. And Cushing, last one of the picks.
I went a little bit wild and went with Arnold Schotzenstopper. Again, if you look at the absolute volume he had, to still be over 90% just blows me away.
Yeah. And probably one of the best goalie names in the league. I mean,
yes.
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It does not hurt.
It definitely creeps up the ballot with a name like that. Awesome. Well, thank you both for your nominations and who you believe should win all these awards. Potty, that's a lot of Dublin players. I think we need to work on the the not being as big as a homer, because we're gonna lose a lot of non-Dublin fans on Rinkside if we keep seeing this. But
Okay.
nonetheless, it was awesome. Thank you both for your picks, and we'll see the awards get announced hopefully this upcoming weekend. All right, now we're going to our interview with Taylor Jean Reeves.
Hey, it's Potty here with TJR, Taylor Jean Reeves, the world famous minor league champion, and in my book, the all-star minor league player of the year.
Thank you. It's great to join you guys and talk some goals in here.
Excellent. So I'm curious, what brought you into the league?
So I mean, I've always been surrounded by like hockey stuff. I mean, I grew up in the East Coast, so it's either you play it or you're surrounded by it. But the sim aspect of it was I actually started in ECFL, which is football league. Shout out to Blackball. But I was brought in pretty much through Victor Davis, which is also known as Assured Fame, and Tank Falco. I think it's what his player's name or his name in goals is. They're both from there. Kickler for other people that are trying to figure out who it is. So they kind of brought me into the sim thing and like, listen, this is what happens, this is what is done. And then the two leagues that stuck with me was ECFL, which is a football one, and then goals. So goals was a lot of fun because it's very interactive when it comes to watching the games itself and seeing yourself progress and just get better. That's probably the part that I kind of enjoyed. So yeah, I'd probably give it to those two. Really kind of brought me into here.
That's nice. We owe it to those that brought us to where we are today, and then upon their shoulders, we build our futures, and you've, built a name for yourself. So I'm kind of curious, how did you come up with your name?
I mean, the big thing is obviously Ryan Reeves. I mean, he's a big favorite of mine. I mean, he just Reeves, he does what he wants. Revo does what he wants kind of thing. I mean, the player is kind of completely different. But I just want to have something, try to make a story out of it. I think that's the one fun part that is cool about this stuff is you can create this character, create this story that's never been told before about like this kid from Kingston, and like I'm not from Kingston, but I can create that story and just embody that. Or you have one of the guys in the league that are not even from America that make their characters American or make themselves American, and they get to embody that too. So yeah, that's kind of where the name came from. Just adding to Reeves, obviously spelled different. Thought I had to go a little different. Had to get a little French in there, a little French Canadian. So I thought it was a little fun to add that in there.
It's a great name. It's it's going to look awesome on the headline papers when we talk about what's going to happen next year. But let's talk about your player today. How did you kind of pick your player type?
I've always, I mean, even when I played more floor hockey because nobody in my family knows how to ice skate. So that's the unfortunate of that. But I've always been that type of style where the wrister is what it's a live or die for me. So getting to do it with a player, even playing shell as a kid, it was always beat the sniper, whether it was ESHL, whatever they call it now, and stuff like that. It was always a sniper. So I thought I'm gonna add that in there, kind of have almost relative to who I am or what the style like, and it's easier for me to track. I mean, if I make a defenseman, I'm not 6'3". I'm not this monster of a kid that played linebacker in high school. I can't relate to that. So it at least gives me that connection to the player more than I would if it was something else.
Absolutely. And, having that connection is, really important for you personally. And, a connection is something that over time it grows and kind of evolves. So I'm kind of curious, like, how have you progressed your player?
I mean, there's multiple ways. I mean, the literal ways, obviously watching the streams and things like that, and then the progressing the weekly. It's kind of finding this out and learning from other players in the league and other coaches. That's one thing that I probably teach people is like get to know people around that's been in the league. They'll tell you things like, hey, like change this because you can mess with shell on this part. Like work on your wrister accuracy more than your shot or something like that. So it was just kind of finding the itches and stuff like that. And I mean, for me, I mean, when you get into the league and you put your guy a sniper, you're like, all I want to do is shoot. But if I can't skate on the ice at any speed, that's nothing. So a lot of times the speed skating was kicking in there. And that's like one thing I teach new people, like don't get caught up in your player's style. You got to make your player stronger. You'll know what the issues are. Like when I first started minors, I mean, this was my second year going in. I played with Tokyo the year before. I was with the Warlocks. And that's one thing I noticed. My guy was slow. I was like, I could get in front of the net, but if I can't have the puck or I can't move with it, it wasn't doing anything well. And obviously it paid off this year with the success the team and myself were able to have. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a hell of a year. And, I don't have your stats for the postseason, but I know they're tremendous. But I do have your stats for the regular season. You put up 24 goals, 12 assists, 36 points. That was the highest among anyone in the entire minor league. So big shout out to you there. And I'm kind of curious, like, why do you think you scored the most points out of any other minor this season?
I think it had a lot to do with coaching. Shout out to my coaches. I mean, Canadian's been on my tail every day. Hey, how you been? Like, yeah, there's no need to check in with somebody when it comes to this stuff, but it's always helpful, and especially with able to let you know, hey, these are the progressions that you should probably do. That helps out a lot. I mean, I did have a year under my belt, so my starting overall in the season did get kind of ahead of everybody else, or at least the younger guys. But I think it was a lot to do with the team. I mean, shout out to Kovalchuk. I mean, me and him on the first line. I mean, it was bread and butter. A lot of the times we kind of got away with doing stuff, and being the sniper was kind of. I mean, I want to say it was abuse, but when you're playing against the young goalies and your wristers maxed out by the halftime of the season, it kind of gets into play. And I was lucky to be able to do that. But it's the stats on my own are great and all, but like I mean, I tell Canadian all the time, and I tell everybody even when it came to draft day, like it's not about the personal awards. I mean, I'd love to score 100 goals every day, Monday through Sunday, but if I rather get the chip, and that's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, we totally value you for that kind of selfless opinion. I think that's really what's most important there as well. And I'm curious. So you've talked about Chewie, Chewie Canadian. What are your plans for season 5?
So it takes a lot of the coaches have been a huge help. You've been a great help as well. And Dublin, even with me being just an affiliate at the time or in the minors, they were ready to talk to me and figure out what my future was. So my goal is to play with them and get called up and work with the main squad. And, shout out to any of the guys that are coming up with me. If they're coming out of the minors, I think Kova might be one of those, which is great because he brings great chemistry. And I think Dublin's right there to me. I mean, that was a thing that kind of brought my eye when they asked me to join their team after draft day came, and unfortunately I didn't get drafted and played with a little chip on my shoulder. In this great team that was already has won it all, that was so involved with knowing the player I was and to make my player greater. That just embodied it. That's why I went there. And sure enough, they asked me at the end of the season, like, hey, like, what's your plans? Do you want to enter the draft? I mean, you'll lead the league in points and stuff like that. And kind of reminded me, I'm like, listen, I don't get here without you guys. If I'm getting a call, I'm going to answer that call. And so it's to make everybody else, that skipped out on the play that TJR was kind of regret it. I mean, I don't mean to sound cocky when I say that, but it just kind of adds to the fuel to the fire of the game itself. So I couldn't back away from the people that actually cared about me to move my player forward.
Well, excellent. Well, we at Dublin are thrilled to have you coming into this upcoming season, and you're going to have a foundational role in the success of this team over the long term. So congrats, and really looking forward to it. What advice do you have for new rookies entering the league for the first time?
Yeah, I'd probably say a couple of things. I mean, get to know somebody. People are not afraid to message you and not afraid to teach you and stuff like that. Those chats are always helpful, and don't feel like if you miss like the stream that your player's going to be so far behind, because it's not going to be that. Don't get caught up in being in the pros your first or second year. Do not, because look at me, I'm second year, and now I've led the league and led the minors and stuff like that, and created a player 10 times better than I thought I would. And kind of get to know the coaches. This is something I kind of got lucky with. I mean, you guys kind of just fell in my lap of how progressive like the team was. But Dublin does it the best, or at least for what I saw, was just like, it's all right. This is what we're doing. All right, like this is what we want you to do, and this is how you're gonna progress. We know the player you can be and what's the best for the team and stuff like that. So it's about teaching you while also progressing you. Because I mean, there could be times where they're just like, oh, like just get your progressions in. And so no, don't diss to any coach or team that does this, but and when it gets to the newer guys, it can be really messed out. And I don't mean to bash Tokyo at all. Tokyo's great. To be a part of that team was amazing. That got me into the league. But I got that from the squad in Dublin that talked to me in Warsaw, and I was able to actually progressed so much more, and I didn't even actually see as much streams as I wanted to this year with work and stuff. So it was pretty cool. So it's try to get to know some players around you, know the coaches, get involved in chats. Obviously, try to watch as much streams as you can, and don't miss your progressions. It's not that hard to get, and they'll always be on you no matter what team it is. But yeah, those are probably the key stuff about it, and obviously have fun.
Exactly. Great advice. I think if anyone can follow those kind of bits of guidance, they'll find success, throughout their experience, however they want to take their player. So, we have a question that we ask kind of everyone that comes onto the show. Goals is what it is to you, but do you have a perspective on where the league will be 5 years from now?
I mean, 5 years, especially for a sim league, almost like 10 years, because a lot of times it's like 2 seasons in a year. But I think it's going to be as far ahead as I can be. I mean, the amount of people you see from last year watching the stream to now are so much greater, and the interaction just get more. And as the league grows, new teams get to go to the league, and you have more personality into the league and stuff like that. So I think honestly, it's going to be at the peak of probably sim itself for hockey, because there really isn't the issue that a lot of other sim leagues have, where people are like, oh, like I want to get involved with this, but I pay all this money to make my guy, or there's no way I'm getting drafted, or I'm not getting any involvement. Goals has that. There's no sitting around before you can actually get started. So I think that's the great thing. And not only has the pros expanded, the minors are expanding with it, and which makes it 10 times better. And I think it's just going to be at the peak of all mountains.
Peak of all mountains. What a great way to close it out. I love that. Great image in my mind. You got any like shout outs or visibility you want to bring to anybody or anything?
The obvious answers are Kickler, aka Falco, and Victor Davis, aka Assured Fame. Those guys get me into the sim league. Even when I'm busy, they're pretty helpful and stuff like that. Players wise, Kovalchuk, couldn't have done what I did this year without you. That first line was just dirty. The Cheech and Chong, the minors, as we called it this year. So shout out to you, and obviously all the guys that are coaching and all the players that you're surrounded by that are even not on your team. I think one cool thing that I was able to experience being in the second year of the minors was playing against guys I played in Tokyo, and you kind of have that little edge to you, and you're like Ryan Jones. I mean, Jones, yeah, I remember playing the same line at Tokyo, and I was like, when I played you guys, I was like, I want to kind of dig it to you guys, and kind of score there. But yeah, shout out to pretty much everybody. I mean, the coaching, I mean, you, Chewie, have been more than helpful. Team at Dublin, I mean, they're amazing as it is, and I can't wait to get that journey started. So yeah, more than a few names, but the league itself.
Awesome. Well, TJR, Mr. Reeves, we appreciate you coming aboard today, and we wish you all the best of luck in the journey ahead.
Thank you so much. Glad to join you guys.
And we are back. Thank you, Taylor, for the interview. Thanks for coming on. Great talking to you, and we're excited to see your plans for the upcoming season. Well, thank you so much, Cushing, for all that info. And we have had you on as an analyst this time. Hopefully, we can get you on as a guest next time to learn more about you and your experience in other leagues and just more info on Kevin Cushing.
Hey, thanks. I like that.
All right. Potty's still in a daze.
Yeah. I'm good, but thank you to our viewers that have tuned in today, and don't forget to become subscribers to be informed of tomorrow.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.